All right, what's good, people? So today we've got a master class in knife making, in value for your money. If you don't know what this is and you're collecting knives, you probably should. So it's the Kubey tityus, however you want to say it. This is the kind of like aqua green anode version. It's basically a Koenig Arius clone. Um, down to the blade shape and the handle, just everything about it kind of looks identical to the Koenig Arius. Um, and this guy's like almost 8 1/4 opened up, and it's 5 ounces overall. It's a drop point in 14C 28N, and it has a bead blast finish on the blade, and then the handle has this nice micro milled pattern on it, and this one's kind of heavily used. This is one knife that as soon as my wife saw it, she stole it from me. So then I went to buy another one, and I got the flame anode version, and my daughter stole it. So now I still don't even have a tityus of my own, but I just borrow theirs when I wanna mess with it. But what makes this knife so amazingly good is the action on it. The drop action on this knife is, I don't even know how to explain it. It's so good, and it's so much like what a super expensive knife's action would feel like. And you can get this knife for like $100, usually under. Just recently, White Mountain Knives had them for like $65 after using all the discounts and everything, which is just insane for a full titanium hardware, contoured. Now the blade still is 14C 28M, but their 14C holds up super well in my opinion. But this is like the best valued knife you can get in my opinion, as far as what you're getting. And then when you feel the action on it, like I said, I have two of them. The action out of the box was the exact same on both of them. It is the glassiest, smoothest, best drop action on a knife, period. Hands down. For what you're paying for this thing. It's just insanity how good the drop action is on this thing. If you have one, comment down in the comment sections. It honestly took my breath away when I felt how good the action was on this thing. I have knives that are 3-4 times as much as this, and the fall action on it is nothing even close to this. It's not even close. This knife, people will say this knife is like one of the best knives that came out last year. And it's a phenomenal knife, don't get me wrong. But the drop action on this, it's not even close, in my opinion. It's not even close. I mean, this is good, don't get me wrong. It's still very hydraulic. It's got a great detent and everything. But as far as like the drop action goes, this blows it out of the water. It is otherworldly good on this drop. And it's not like it falls under its own weight, but you give it any kind of encouragement. I mean, just usually it won't even stay there on its own. Let's see if it will. It will. So, and it's just you just don't feel any resistance, any grittiness, anything. Even when I do it left-handed, and if you're right-handed and you play with your knives left-handed, I can feel grit contamination and the bearings having any kind of anything going on with them with my left hand, because my left hand doesn't get used nearly as much as my right. So I can just feel it with my left hand, and I feel nothing on this knife on the close. And then it doesn't hurt that the opening action, the detent on it is just amazing. Listen to this detent. And that was it right out of the box. And the Flame Dano one I have is the exact same way. Detent is the exact same way. The rear flipper is amazing. It's jimped all the way down and around. It's above the pivot, so you get tons of leverage on it. It just rockets it out there. And then lock bar access is fantastic as well. It's laid back on this side, so it's super easy to get to. And then because the detent's nice and early, well, early enough, there's detent. We're over it there. So you can catch that tab with your thumb every time. And so you're not double clutching it or anything. And then you have the Holt. The reverse flick on it is money. It's just money. Thumb flick, it works. It's not the greatest. It's lackluster compared to the back flipper and the reverse flick, in my opinion. But as long as you nestle in right up here at the edge of it right here and make sure you've got a stout grip on it, you're good to go. It's still satisfying, don't get me wrong. It's just not near as satisfying as the reverse flick and the back flipper on it. And I kept thinking about deleting the back flipper. Well, I can't now because this isn't mine anymore. But, I kept thinking about getting rid of it so that you could choke up here way easier. Because as it stands, like I can't really get in there without like basically trigger pulling it, And I have to make sure I'm back on this, and it's uncomfortable as fuck, to make sure I'm not, running into the corner of it right there. So if you deleted the flipper tab on it, you'd have plenty of room up there. But the flipper tab works so goddamn good, and it's so satisfying to use that I honestly wouldn't want to remove it. It might look better without it, and it might function better cutting-wise, but it's just too much fun to use it to get rid of it, in my opinion. And then the ergos on this thing are fantastic because it's so heavily contoured, and these are nice, thick handles, so you get a really good grip, and then you've got this nice, basically a poon, almost a poon, so you can settle in right here behind of it, and this grip right here just feels fantastic. Now, again, like, it kind of sucks that I can't get real, I can if I do the semi-pull on it, where I'm like this. I can, so you can still make it work. And it's a nice, tall, flat grind. And, I'm not the biggest fan of a bead blast finish, but with 14C, I'd rather see this bead blast almost like stone-washed kind of bead blast. Because it's not, this is, it's sort of bead blast, and it's sort of been tumbled at the same time. So it's like an in-between. It's kind of like, it's a lot like this. But this is more of like a straight bead blast. So you can kind of see this is like a in-between. It's like a little bit of both. But yeah, this knife is just, gosh, man, if you get one for like $65, like, what the fuck are we even talking about here? That's like a Civivi price, for G10 and Proud liners and all that. The clip, it works fantastic. It's a titanium clip, but it's a stamped clip, but there's nothing wrong with it. It works just fine. This nice color on this thing, too, just looks phenomenal. This kind of turquoise looking, kind of reminds me of, what you got on old Neves here. Looks very similar. Kind of looks like. Anyway, but yeah, man, if you don't have one of these, do yourself a favor and just go buy one. Hell, even at $100 freaking dollars, man, this thing's phenomenal. It cuts super well. It let's check. So I can tell you the handle, I think it's like 1/2 inch. It's pretty robust. It's not like super thick. Yeah, a little over 1/2 inch. It just feels nice and girthy in the hand, if that makes sense. And then behind the edge, it's not the thinnest thing in the world, but it'll get the job done. And both the ones I got came with a pretty good edge. 20, 19, 519. If I could get it, right to begin with. I want to say we're, around 1920. Yeah. So not the sliciest thing in the world, but I haven't had any problems. And like I used it a lot before my girl took it over, you know. And then like the only issue with this whole knife is probably the weight at 5 ounces, but it is pocketed out on the inside pretty heavily. So I'm not sure how much, and it doesn't even have a backspacer. You know, it's flow through construction, so that might be another negative. I'd like to see it have a backspacer and maybe a milled tie clip, you know. But that would bring the price up. And then really the only real negative is the sharpening choil. You can see it's damn near right up to the edge. And then the stop pin is internal though. So if you wanted to, make this finger choil even bigger so you could get in here, you could. And like I said, if this was my knife, I would probably look at doing that. But like I said, my wife, it's the only knife I ever opened. And as soon as she saw it, she was like, "That's mine." And I thought she was joking. I was like, "Yeah, haha, you're fucking funny. Give me my knife back." And she was like, "No, I'm serious. I'm keeping it." And I was like, "What the fuck are you going to do with it?" And she was like, "Well, I'm going to take it with me when I go fishing with my dad and my brother." And I was like, "Well, I got you that Mora knife to take with you when you go fishing." And she was like, "Yeah, but I need like a food prep knife for when I cook dinner for everybody." And I was like, "Well, fuck, I guess I can't really. She ain't never asked for one before, so I can't really say no, you know." So she took it, and then as soon as my daughter handled it, she was like, "Damn, I want one." And I was like, "Well, I want one." I was like, "Hell, I bought myself one and I lost it." And then I was like, "Well, I'm going to get the flame anode one." And then my daughter was like, "Well, that's the one that I wanted." And I was like, "Well, fuck, man. I guess, you get it or I'll go halves with you on it and you have to let me carry it from time to time." So, I ended up with 2 of these and don't really get to carry either one of them, but that's fine. It's a phenomenal knife though, man. It's so good. Like I said, if you can get over the sharpening choil on it and, maybe the thumb flick's not the greatest. I mean, some people might say that it is, because as long as I flipped it. As long as I make sure my thumb is nestled right there, I get it every time. But if I just pull it out my pocket to go, I'll flub it a lot of times on the thumb if that's what I go for. But not on the reverse flick and not on the back flipper. I can kind of show you real quick, before we get done here, just a couple of size comparisons. So, Militaw, we are bigger. Let's kind of get you over top of it a little bit here. I feel like it's always easier to tell when you're right over top of it. Bigger than the Militaw. And this thing's definitely a clone of the Koenig Arius. It looks just like the damn thing. There's that High Grain Designs DeVille, bigger. Do one I did a video on the other day, the Kubey Momentum. Phenomenal knife again. It's going to be bigger still, I'm pretty sure. Yep, not by a tremendous amount, but definitely bigger. Let's do the Vision FG. Bigger still. I mean, it's definitely a full-size knife, and it feels full-size in the hand. And again, 5 ounces. 5 ounces is right on the cusp of being too big, in my opinion. I mean, it's manageable, don't get me wrong, and you're not going to, super notice it in your pocket, but it's right on the cusp. But if you don't have one of these, you just need to get it just to experience the drop on it, in my opinion. I don't have another knife that is as good as this on the drop. I don't. And that's crazy to me that you can get this for $65 and it outshines knives that are way more expensive than this thing on the drop. Just a fan freaking tastic knife. If you don't have one, go get one. Highly recommend it from me. Y'all have a good one.